Welcome back to the deep dive. So we have a really unusual one today.
Hmm.
When you hear the word strategy, you probably think of, boardrooms, flowcharts.
SWOT analyses, all that corporate jargon.
Exactly. But our source material today, Harmonies of Logic, argues that if you wait until business school to learn strategy, you're already about 20 years too late.
It's a pretty bold premise, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we tend to gatekeep that word strategy as some kind of high-level adult thing.
For sure.
But the argument here is that it's actually happening in the sandbox,
Okay.
not just the C-suite.
Okay, but we have to be careful with the definition then, because my first thought was, are we trying to teach toddlers to do hostile takeovers at the jungle gym?
Right. And the source is, well, it's very clear.
Hmm.
That is not the goal.
Good?
We aren't raising little corporate sharks. This isn't about competition or winning at all costs. They define strategy much, much more simply. It's the art of thinking before acting.
Which, for a 5-year-old, is basically Mount Everest. Impulse control is everything.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole key. It's translating adult speak into kid reality.
Sure.
So we talk about resource allocation.
Right.
In a kid's world, that's just choosing to play with the blocks instead of the trucks because you only have 10 minutes before dinner.
That's a trade-off. You're teaching trade-offs.
Precisely. It's learning that saying yes to one thing means you're saying no to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that, right there, is a strategic decision.
So how do you actually get a child to, understand that? You can't sit a preschooler down for a PowerPoint on Opportunity Cost 101.
No, absolutely not. Lectures don't work. The source argues that kids learn through rhythm and repetition and emotion.
And that's where the music comes in.
That's where the music comes in. It kind of bypasses the logical brain and goes straight for memory and feeling.
The source mentioned a song called Think First.
Yeah, think first. It's basically a little jingle designed to trigger a pause. So instead of a parent yelling, "Be careful," from across the room,
Which they tune out anyway.
they totally tune it out. The song reinforces the habit of just stopping for a second to assess a situation. It turns risk assessment-like, pausing before you jump off a swing into a reflex.
Not just a rule they have to follow.
Exact.
And then there was the other one, Choose One. I found that one really interesting because it deals with that resource allocation thing.
That one is so much harder, I think, for everyone. Choose one helps a kid navigate that anxiety of missing out.
FOMO for 4-year-olds.
Totally. It teaches that focusing on one game actually makes it more fun than trying to play 5 games badly. It frames prioritization not as losing something, but as gaining quality.
That is a lesson I think a lot of adults are still trying to learn.
Oh, honestly, yes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the big aha moment in this whole thing for me. We're not just teaching kids to be polite or to wait their turn.
Right.
The source makes a really strong connection between these simple habits and future STEM skills.
The whole scaling up idea, I saw the comparison they made between Think First and coding.
It's the same logic, right? In coding, you have to understand the sequence, the consequences of your code before you execute it.
Cause and effect?
Yep. If you've internalized think first at age 4, debugging a program at age 14 is just a more complex version of that same mental habit.
And a block tower falling over. That's just engineering iteration.
It is. It's failure analysis. And sharing toys. The source calls that systems thinking.
How so?
Well, it's realizing you're part of a bigger ecosystem, the playground, and your actions affect the whole system. If you hoard all the good blocks, the system, which is the game, breaks down for everyone.
So you're not just teaching manners, you're teaching them how to function inside an interconnected system.
You're building the mental infrastructure for complex problem solving.
Yeah.
We just don't need to call it systems theory when they're 3 years old.
It really does reframe the job of a parent or a teacher then. You don't need a new curriculum.
No.
You just need to spot the moment a child makes one of those choices and, I guess, validate it.
Validate it and maybe give them a soundtrack for it. Give them a sense of agency. They're not just following your orders. They're being strategic.
It does leave me with one last thought, though. If strategy is really just about making thoughtful choices and understanding consequences, are we adults the ones who are overcomplicating it with all our jargon?
I think we might be.
Yeah.
Maybe we all need to sing Choose One a little more often in our own meetings.
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to this deep dive, and we'll catch you on the next one.